It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I grew up in the city of Atascadero. I've lived for the last 39 years in the city of Paso Robles. I served on the Paso Robles City Council from 1987 to 1996, and I was the mayor there from 1988 to 1990. And those were some pretty exciting times in the city of Paso Robles. A lot of people who live there now don't remember those days, but in the 1980s, about half of downtown Paso Robles was empty. And by empty, I mean empty, soap on the windows, gone home, not doing business here anymore. And there was a great concern at that time that the city was going to slip from being in financial jeopardy to being in financial bankruptcy. I was appointed in 1987 to fulfill a 10-month term of a councilman who had stepped down. Prior to that, I had worked in the media in the North County. I worked as the news director for KPRL, and I also worked as the editor for the old Paso Robles Country News. And when the opportunity came along to be appointed to the city council, I decided I wanted to pursue that. And the reason I wanted to pursue that was I had spent all my professional life talking about the things that other people had done. And I decided for once in my life, I wanted to do something. So for the next nearly 9 years, I served in the Paso Robles City Council, and during that period of time, the city of Paso Robles decided they wanted to be the retail hub of the North County, but they didn't want to go broke. That they wanted some $30 million a year in taxable sales that were going to the city of Santa Maria to stay in the North County, and specifically in the city of Paso Robles. And that the people that lived in Paso Robles should have the opportunity to live, shop, and work in the same community. And fast forward to today, and a lot of those goals have been achieved in Paso Robles after a lot of hard work by a lot of different people. It's been 16 years since I served on the Paso Robles City Council. I was narrowly defeated in my last council run, 31 votes. And since that time, I've had a lot of people every 2 years say, would you please run for city council again? And I've always said no, and primarily over the last 10 years, because I've been focusing the city of Atascadero. I've been working as the executive director for the Atascadero Main Street Association for the last 3 years. In addition to that, I've worked for the city of Atascadero and putting together plans for promoting tourism to the city of Atascadero and trying to bring a type of economic renaissance to the community of Atascadero that I'd experienced in the city of Paso Robles. I'm very happy to say, through the work of a lot of people, that Atascadero has made tremendous progress over the last 10 years. The downtown revitalization plan, a 10-year plan, has been completed. If you look at that document that was put forth in the year 2001, 99% of all the tasks that were proposed have been completed. There's always room for improvement, but if you were to look back 10 years to the way downtown Atascadero looked then compared to the way it looks now, you would see a world of difference. We see developing tourism center in the Lake Park complex. That's becoming very well known. The city of Atascadero over the last 3 years has become very well known for its unique history and for its own unique venues, in addition to being a place that is central on the Central Coast to all the major venues that people come here to enjoy, the wineries, Hearst Castle, the Pacific Ocean, many other things. The city of Atascadero has been very successful in the last 10 years in bringing itself forward and updating its city and creating a new economic engine for the people of Atascadero. And I'm very pleased and very proud to have been a part of that. But now that my involvement in the city of Atascadero is coming to an end, my contracts with the city, my professional involvement is just about finished. I turn my attention once again to Paso Robles, where I've lived for the last 39 years. And the people have said, would you please run for Paso Robles City Council again? And so for several months now, I've been speaking to people in Paso Robles, asking what they felt were the issues in the city of Paso Robles. Why would you want a non-incumbent to win an election and to sit on the Paso Robles City Council? And to put it in a nutshell, the city of Paso Robles that I left working in, although I still live there, that I left working in 10 years ago, has kind of slowed to a standstill. Where at one time it was known as a business-friendly city, an aggressive city, a risk-taking city, a city that was always providing new and better services for its citizens, it has become a city that is stagnant. It's become a city that does not have a vision for its future. It's a city that doesn't budget any money at all for road repairs. It's a city that has 20 officers on patrol, where when I was on the city council, we had 36. It's a city that's lived through several scandals now, including the resignation of their police chief. It's a city that's done a very poor job in communicating to its citizens the issues that are so important. the issues of infrastructure maintenance, which have completely gone by the wayside, the issue of the supply of supplemental water, which was very poorly explained to the people of Paso Robles. And so as I've listened to the people that I've talked to over the last few months, I've come to be conversant with the issues and the problems that face the city of Paso Robles right now. And I feel the experience that I had on the Paso Robles City Council then, coupled with the experience that I've had over the last 10 years and working with the good people of Atascadero and working through some of their challenges, make me uniquely qualified to bring something to the table for the city of Paso Robles over the next 4 years, and that's why I'm running. I'm very happy to say that going back to Paso Robles and making contacts with people that I have not had contact with for a decade, that many of them do remember me and are very happy that I'm running for the Paso Robles City Council. And I was kind of concerned that wouldn't be the case. I was kind of concerned people would say, where'd you go? Who you been? What have you been doing? But people have been following Atascadero. People have been seeing what's happening here. And accurately or inaccurately, I get to bask in some of the glow of that success. So it's been a very good experience so far in the campaign for City Council in the city of Paso Robles. As I said, my family have lived in the city of Paso Robles for the last 39 years. I have 2 grown daughters. I have a couple of grandchildren. Unfortunately, they're way back in Tennessee, so I don't get to see them very often. My younger daughter is going to be married a little bit later this month, right here in Atascadero, so we're going to have the family together for the first time in I don't know how long, and that'll be a wonderful thing. And we're all looking forward to being together and enjoying the area where they grew up with us. One of the things I was very well known for and tried to make myself known for in the city of Paso Robles when I got on the city council there back in the late 80s was forward-looking planning. The first couple of months I attended city council meetings as a member, I would have issues come in front of me and we would listen to hours-long presentations and we would make votes, and it left me asking myself, why did we vote that way on this? What are the underlying premises that we use to make these decisions? And I had to step back and say, if I'm going to be doing this for any length of time, then I have to have a reason and I have to have a basis for making these decisions, other than just onesies and twosies. You know, we're going to talk about this one tonight and this one next week, and maybe they're very similar projects, but we might vote differently on it, and that's just the way it is. I didn't feel that was right. So I felt that it was very important that we have long-range planning and that we have goals that we could move forward to, that we could have a mental picture of what the city of Paso Robles would look like 20 years from now. And then whatever came in front of us as a council, regardless of whether it was a good idea or a bad idea, if it didn't take us toward those goals, we had to politely say no thank you. And we had a lot of good ideas come in front of us, a lot of really wonderful things. But they weren't things that took us toward that goal. They weren't things that took us toward the vision of a city where people could shop, where people could live, and where people could work. And that's what we focused on for the nearly 9 years that I was on the council. And that worked very well. And I think it's a process that we need to return to in the city of Paso Robles, and something I intend to do.
Was it one of those projects Walmart?
Actually, one of those projects was Walmart.
Or Woodlands too?
Yes. If you look at the general plan update from 1991, which was kind of the watershed document that created this atmosphere in Paso Robles, it stated as one of its goals that the city of Paso Robles would become the retail hub of the North County. And you have to remember, in those days, there was no retail in Paso Robles. I mean, there was downtown and that was it. I think maybe they had constructed what was then the Williams Brothers Shopping Center on the east side. So that was a pretty bold goal to set forth. And one of the products was Woodland Plaza, where Walmart is located, and also JCPenney, and also a variety of other stores, and Woodland Plaza 2 across the street, and a few years later, Target down the road. And then after I departed from the council, the Lowe's Center, which is there now, which has established a really strong retail shopping center for Paso Robles, which creates the retail sales tax dollars necessary to pay for city services. The other criteria that I had to put together for making decisions was, number one, was it legal? Because believe it or not, there are people who come to you and say, well, you know, we could do this, and it's not really legal, but we could do it. And if it wasn't legal, I didn't want to hear about it. And number two, if it didn't
Could you
take...
give an example of something like that?
Pardon?
Could you give an example of something like that?
Yeah, if someone comes to me and says, you know what, if we think that you ought to rezone this land for XYZ purpose, okay, And we think you ought to do it in a way that doesn't conform to the rules regarding public hearings, public information. We think you just do it around the back door. That's illegal, and that's wrong. And I would have no brook with that. I'm sorry I don't push the envelope. One of the conversations I always had with reporters, having been a reporter myself, was I don't have an on the record and off the record. I will tell you what I know to the legal extent that I can tell you. And when I don't know the answer, I will tell you that. And when legally I can't tell you that, that's what I will say. But there's no, here's the official story and here's the real story. It's all the real story with me. The second consideration was, does it take us toward or away from our goals? If it takes us away from our goals, I don't care how wonderful an idea it is. We decided this is the direction we're going in. This is the direction we're going in. And the further consideration is, very real world, can we afford this? Maybe the greatest idea in the world, may be legal and ethical, and may take us right straight for our goals. But if it's something we can't afford, let's be real, folks. We just can't do that. We have to do something differently. So that was the basis for my decision-making then, and that will be the basis for my decision-making when and if I'm elected to the city council again. So, right now, we're in the middle of the campaign in Paso Robles, and I have to be honest with you, after 16 years, I'm a little rusty at campaigning, but I'm getting back into it. And one of my great joys is speaking with groups such as this. Having worked for many years on the radio station KPRL, one of the gifts that provides you is a comfort with speaking to people in groups. I really enjoy speaking with people in groups. I enjoy the dialogue, I enjoy the input, and some people are very uncomfortable with that. And one of the things that's very important when you're on the city council is sometimes when the issues are very complicated, one of your jobs as a council member is to the best of your ability try to explain it to the people that you represent. It's not good enough just to say, trust me, this is the best thing we can do. You have to the greatest ability of your, to the greatest extent possible, explain your position. One of the greatest compliments I ever received was one evening after a particularly acrimonious public hearing, and we had some. We took a break after the vote on a particular issue, and a gentleman walked up to me in the office, in the audience, and said, "You know, I totally disagree with the way you voted. I totally disagree, but I understand how you got there. I understand what thought process you took to get there." And I thought that was a very great compliment. I was speaking recently with somebody I reconnected with on the campaign trail and asking for support. And I said, I have to admit to you, I don't have the answers to all these questions. I don't have the answers to all these problems. And she said, you know, Steve, I know you don't have the answers to all these problems, but what I trust you to do is I trust you to have better questions. So that's one of the things I'll try to do as a council person, is to ask better questions, because from better questions come better answers. October 8th is when the absentee ballots go out, so about 60% of you will be finished voting after that. Anybody here vote in Paso Robles? Excellent. I would very respectfully ask for your vote. November 6th, obviously the election date, and if you're not voting absentee, please save a vote for me then. And all of my information is in my brochure. I'll be happy to give it to you. My contact information, my phone number has always been in the phone book. I'm not a secretive council person, not a secretive public servant, and I would welcome the opportunity to speak to you individually or in groups. And I know there are questions. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Coming up on the ballot is a general fund sales tax increase.
Yes.
Do you support that increase?
The problem I have with that increase, and I've had conversations with city staff and with incumbent council people, and what they will say is, and there's truth to this, I'm not discounting it completely, what they will say is, well, we don't have the money to do X, Y, or Z. Most specifically, we don't have the money to fix roads because the state took all our money. And we can't do this because the state took all our money. And we can't do this because the state took all of our money. Well, I got news for you. The state took everybody's money, okay? And some folks are able to work forward without asking their citizens to pay extra money. The city of Paso Robles, according to the city manager right now, has a budget reserve of about $9 million. $9 million in reserve. Reserve defined as money we set aside for a rainy day. And I don't know if the people that are running Paso Robles right now realize it or not, but it's kind of storming all over the world right now economically. And I think that the city of Paso Robles could take a lead from their friends in the city of Atascadero, crack open the vault, spend a couple of $1 million on road repair, and at least put off asking the citizens of Paso Robles for a tax increase.
My question was, there's going to be a general fund sales tax increase on the ballot. Would you support that, yes or no?
No.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I thought you were before me. Do you have a question?
Oh, when he asked the question, but, yeah, I guess I do have a question. A lot of citizens have checked into something called the sustainability of smart growth. And did a lot of research as to what's behind that, and I think I spoke with you about it before, and it's such an issue because there's gonna be a lot of pressure coming down really soon. For example, San Luis County just passed forced energy audits on our homes if we spend $10,000 or more. So I personally am extremely against that, and I just wondered if you have a position on that, how much you've checked into that. And
As you know-
it seems to me that what happens is they want the grant money, they get the grant money from these non-governmental organizations, and then we sell our souls and they sell it to citizens.
Right. And you, when we spoke recently, you asked me about this, and I said, I don't have enough information to give you an answer on that. Since then, I have read the information you gave me, and I have looked at other information, and I have to say that I concur with you. I think it's intrusive upon private property, it's intrusive upon private rights, and I would be opposed to it. Yes, sir.
Regarding the Paso Robles groundwater basin,
Yes.
it seems like the county is getting ready to stop the subdivision of rural parcels based on this idea that the groundwater basin is being seriously depleted, and I think also really to force people into cluster housing. And I'm wondering what information you have on the Paso Robles groundwater basin. Is it in serious decline? Because there seem to be talking about stopping residential subdivision of parcels, but and I like wineries, but there's a lot of wineries out there that are using up, to me, a heck of a lot more water than the residential uses. So.
My information, to be really honest with you, is probably a little dated, but my understanding is from the last information I received is that there is a serious depletion in certain areas of groundwater in the Paso Robles area. The blaming of that on residential is probably erroneous because, as I think you understand, the agricultural uses, particularly the uses by the wineries, use millions and millions and millions of gallons of water, and the people that live in the rural areas to the east of Paso Robles have seen their wells affected over the last 10, 15, 20 years as the advent of the wineries have come on. So I think the idea of blaming residential growth for impact on depletion of groundwater is probably erroneous.
Feeding off of Sherry's comment, with the Board of Supervisors been passing the ordinance that they just did, there was a gal that was from either Greenbelt or Cal 4, C4 or something, and that is a green building code issue. And she said that she wants to take what they passed to all 7 cities in the county. And so for everybody who will be voted in, to have a heads up that that will be something you will be presented to and probably voting on. And that I find it very intrusive. I mentioned to a couple people about, it was presented as if it was an elective addition or remodel. But if your water pipe goes out in the middle of your wall or your electricity goes out, so it's insult to injury. So now you have to take care of an emergency, and now you have to pay for that, and then you have to pay for the HERS, and then you have to, you're on record of all the different things that you've allowed them to come in and tell you what would better facilitate your energy production. Yeah. And so that'll be on the record for the county for 5 years. What if you sell your home in 2? That's on the record. Did you do this? Well, no. Where's the money coming from? And like Bill said wonderfully at the Board of Supervisors meeting, he said, where's that money coming from? Our equity.
Question?
No. That just that they to have a heads up that they might vote.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the police chief debacle that we just went through. City of Paso Robles seems to be mired in cronyism as bad as any big city I've ever seen. There's a lot of things that the people aren't told. There's a lot of things we hear behind, talking to people that are in the know. Will you stand up? Will you be the one to say, no, stop this. We're not going to do this, and we need to let these people know, our constituents know what we're doing and what's going on.
Several questions, and the answer to all of them are yes. First of all, I will be the person to stand up. I've done that on difficult situations in the past when I was on the city council in Paso Robles. Secondly, the feedback I've received from people I've talked to have echoed what you just said. The City Hall in Paso Robles seems to be rather ivory towerish right now. People don't feel like they can get in and be heard, and they don't feel like they're getting the real story on some of this stuff. I think that a lot of the things that have happened personnel-wise in Paso Robles sort of mirror the infrastructure problems. They've been left to stagnate, they haven't been addressed in a timely fashion from year to year to year, and finally, the chickens come home to roost, and it becomes a crisis. My philosophy is, get 80% of the business taken care of ahead of time, then when things blow up in your face, you've got the time and resources to deal with them. So I think people need to be better informed, they need to feel more comfortable about access to City Hall, and definitely when that type of situation arises, not just one city council person, but the entire city council should stand up and say, this is not in the best interest of our citizens.